Welcome to this part of our series as we begin to take a look at some of the documents we use in assessing students' behavior and their performance in the classroom. My guest today is Laura Avalos. Laura is a TA for me this year. She has been with me for 2 years. This has been the third year. So Laura's been through the process of working through these documents, and she's going to share how the documents have been beneficial to her. She might even share some stories about how it's helped her grade along the way. And so our intention today is to encourage you to think about the possibility of using these documents. These documents can be used with the new Common Core state standards across the nation. And so we're going to share with you how that process works. So Laura, let me just kind of walk through a couple of these things right here, and we'll begin our journey down the pathway. So this first document we have here is called the DPS. The DPS stands for the Daily Performance Sheet. This is the sheet where students record their grade every day. And you'll notice that on the sheet there are definitions at the top as to the categories that they're using. There is being punctual, prepared, productive, there's an entry quiz, and being polite. These are things that are required by the corporate world. As we began to train our young people to move into the corporate world, we want to make sure that they have documents that they can use now to prepare themselves for that. The corporate officers have told us that students can be fired if they don't follow through on one of these areas in their work. And so we want to train them in the classroom every day, and it also allows them to be able to walk out of the classroom at the end of the day. They know what their grade is. There is no guesswork. They don't have to go to an electronic system, go on their computer, bother the teacher, ask for progress reports, things like that. This is their grade, and it says right here at the top, DPS is your grade. And it talks about the corporate workplace as well. So we're going to talk about that quite a bit here in a few minutes. The next one that we have is the X-Bank sheet. The X-Bank sheet is a place where it says, again, the place where you control your grade. The last document we looked at said, this is your grade. This is how they can control their grade. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that when we assess young people, we don't assess everything that we teach them. We give sample assessments so that we can get an idea of what they know. What we do know is that they have more information retained within their minds than what we are asking for. And so what we do with this sheet of paper here, we allow them to gain extra points. Now those extra points can be put into a category called the X-Bank. And the X-Bank is a non-weighted category where the number just sits there for them to use the information when they're ready. And so what they'll do on this particular form is for videos or for a lecture. So all of us are doing lectures consistently. Some of us use video more than others, but this particular one allows them to be able to take the extra information that they record. This category, there are 5 required pieces, 5 required pieces, 3 required pieces, and 1. That's the minimum requirement, and that's fine. But if they want to get X-Bank points to improve their grade, this is how they would do that. So Laura, we're going to walk through a process here how we would use these particular documents, and we're also going to show you a picture of a computer screen that shows how that grade is actually transferred to their final grade. That parents, if they want to look at it online, they can do that, but the student walks out of the classroom every day with their DPS. So let's just kind of walk through the process to begin with. This, first of all, is the weekly recording log. The weekly recording log requires us to record a bunch of information here of assignments, X-Bank information is on here, and so forth. So Laura, if you could just explain a little bit what your job is and how you use this form.
So basically, I just go through their papers, like their assignments, and record whether they did them completely, and all the way done, incomplete, or didn't do them at all. And just record them by doing little check marks underneath each assignment here. Then after that, from their DPS, which they will fill out, I will record their grades out of however many points there are that week. Then I will go back, and with their DPS that they will have turned in, I will compare their DPS to what we have on our assignment and entry quiz scores here. And if they have any X-Bank from their X-Bank sheet, I will be able to record it here and then be able to switch their grade if if they need more points for their assignment.
So Laura, if you have a student, for example, they turn in, and we're going to take an example of a student here. This student turned in a DPS, and this was their weekly paper that they had recorded. And if they record this in error, they don't put down the right scores. Maybe they didn't remember, or maybe they actually cheated and gave themselves more credit. What do you do with this paper so that both of those align?
You will change this paper to match the scores on the weekly record log. So
Okay.
They will match up.
So in this particular case, it looks to me like this student gave themselves a 38. And I see it got crossed out and it was changed to a 36, but then the final grade is a 38. How did that happen?
They gave themselves too many points on the productive, which means they didn't finish an assignment, so they would have to have points subtracted from that. But then on their entry quiz, they could have added a point to their Monday and to their Wednesday entry quiz, so their points went up again.
Okay, and how does that student let you know they want you to use XBank?
They will usually write XBank on the side or on this side over here.
Okay, so that's what we see right here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So now we have a permanent score. Now, this particular student, as you'll notice, what Laura did here, and we have an arrow by the student that we're talking about, the student gave themselves a 36, and then Laura changed that score to a 38. And what about the XBank points we see? Explain that column over here.
For the XBank, they probably had a lecture or video that week, so they had 18 points for XBank, and I had to subtract 2 from their XBank because I gave them 2 points extra on their DPS.
Okay, and the person had XBank points to use from the sheet that we were talking about, which is this sheet right here, and they were able to do that because they completed the assignment first of all, and then they got 18 additional pieces of information, and they were able to use that to improve their grade.
Yeah.
So see, ladies and gentlemen, what we're doing here is we're allowing a student to control their grade. We want them to know that the additional information, the learning that they did, is valuable. It can be used to improve their grade. And let's just take a look. And we did see how that worked. It went up there by 2 points, which improves their grade. Now, over here, we're going to take a look at this student on the final computer. On the computer, we have all of the dates here and all the DPSs recorded, and we have a score of 38 recorded right there. And so what Laura then does is she enters these grades into the computer, and then that student can go home if they want their parents to see on the electronic grading system, whether it be any of the ones that are out there. They can then find out that yes, it's true, the student's grade is actually a 91 or an A minus. And so that's very helpful for the parent, but the student leaves the classroom every day understanding what their grade is. Now Laura, let's put this aside for just a second. Let's talk about when you were a student. Talk to me about the DPS and the value of the DPS for you.
I really liked having the DPS because I would always know if I didn't do an assignment or something. I would always have points marked down or something, and that would remind me, next time do all of your assignments before the week is over. And I, like you said, I would always know what my grade is because I could always just go back and check. And I had control over my own grade.
And you've really felt that was true? Like you were really right there?
Yeah.
Of all the classes that you've had over the last 3 years here, what other classes allow you to walk out that door every day and say, I know my grade?
None.
None of the other
Except
classes?
for when I had you for a teacher, because I knew what I had, but
Okay.
none of the other teachers had something like
Did I
this.
pay you to say this?
No.
No. And so, and this is the common response I get from all of my classes. I ask them every year, we do an evaluation of the class and how it went. And they all like the class because they understand what their grade is when they walk out that door. They know what's going to happen at home if their parents go online and they check the grade and they see that it's not right. And they can come back sometimes and say, hey, Mr. Korb, it didn't work out quite right. There's something wrong. We can look and see if there was an error in putting the information in. Or what's beneficial to us is we can always go back and we can always pull the student's DPS back out and say, well, This is what we have for a grade, and that's why we have the arrow there. I want you to be able to see that this is the particular student that we're talking about. But there is one other element I want to talk about, and that's the student that is gone. What happens on a day, we're going to talk about X-Bank right now. X-Bank being that additional learning that you have gained in the subject matter, but we didn't use it for an entry quiz. You were not assessed on it in any way, but it is additional information. If you're gone for a day, what can you do with the DPS? And this would be one, we'll just kind of throw this up here kind of as an example. If you were gone, what could you do here?
Well, if you're gone, you can basically add points to everything except for your entry quiz, because you weren't here for your entry quiz, so you can't add points to an entry quiz you didn't do, so you would have 7 points for that day.
Okay,
Yes.
and 7 out of 10, which is 10 points per day, it's a C, so it's better than getting nothing and having an F, or having to go home, do a bunch of homework and get caught up and bring it in. This way you can use additional learning to improve your grade. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what's interesting about this particular student here, as you'll see, they did write X-Bank here, and as Laura was working through the process, she noticed that there were some grades that could be raised. She also noticed that this student needed to get credit for a day that they were not here. This was a 50-point week, and you'll notice that there were 2 days that student wasn't here. That's 20 points off of 50. That drops you down to a pretty low grade, probably failing. But being able to use the X-Bank points and to bring that grade back up, that student now put in how many points, Laura?
16.
16 points. They go from a
25 to 41.
to a 41.
Really good.
Yeah. So basically, 25 of 50, that's 50%. That's an F. But now you've got 41 of 50. Doing my quick math, I'm thinking like 80-something percent. 82? Ooh, she's smart. So there you go. And then we take this grade. So we go from 41 off of this sheet, we add it to this right here and put that in for their grade. If this student had have received a F, 25 points, this grade probably would be a high C, maybe. And so it becomes quite a problem, and it allows students to be able to work themselves back out of a very tough predicament. And maybe it was, this is not unexcused absence, ladies and gentlemen. These are legitimate absences where the student brings a note from home saying, my son, my daughter was sick, we had a tragedy in the family, something like that. Those are the kinds of things, or school-related. We'll allow school-related as well. So those are some pretty important documents. Laura, do you have anything else that you'd like to add about how this has helped you along the way?
I like the process and like being able to know what your grade is at all times, because some teachers don't ever like update their computers or anything, so you're like left there wondering what your grade is. You don't know if it's an A, an F, or anything, so this really helps.
Yeah. And you want to be a school teacher, I understand.
Yeah.
You were thinking about
or
that.
working with kids or something like that, so yeah.
Yeah, okay. Good enough. Laura, thanks a lot. Appreciate you taking the time.